Today we are going to look at the very popular Death Note, the 2007 TV series anime. Let's get into it. Death Note, the anime TV series, was released in the United States on October 21st, 2007. The production company was DN Dream Partners, and the distributor was Adult Swim. It is considered by many to be the best mystery anime of all time, and is considered a gateway into anime itself. Death Note started as a shonen series created by writer Sugumi Oba and artist Takeshi Obata. It began as a weekly serialized manga in shonen in 2003. And it has been adapted into a live-action Japanese film series beginning in 2006, an anime series in 2006, which we'll be discussing today, a musical in 2015, a live-action television drama in 2015, an American film on Netflix in 2017, and a German audio drama in 2018. The story of Death Note is about a very intelligent high school student named Light Yagami who discovers a supernatural notebook that allows him to kill anyone by writing the victim's name while picturing their face. The story follows his attempts to become a god by creating a new world cleansed of all evil, and the complex conflict between himself and all those who try to stop or help him. The voice work for Light Yagami was done by Brad Swale, who is known for doing voice work on X-Men Evolution in 2000. The voice work for L is done by Alessandro Giuliani. He is known from Battlestar Galactica in 2004. The voice work for Nier is done by Kathy Westluck. She is known for doing voice work on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, in 2010, and the voice work for Mello is done by David Robert Moore, who is known for Succession in 2018. What are my thoughts on Death Note? I had seen it when it had initially come out, but I recently went back and watched it again, and it totally lives up to the hype. It's really well done. It's thrilling, it's suspenseful, it's very clever, it's thought out. You can't keep your eyes off the characters. Light and L, their cat and mouse game is just thrilling. So it really is, I think it really is excellent. It's one of the best animes out there. Some of the complaints that people normally have is post L, when it moves away from him and it moves to other characters like Nier or Mello, or it moves to that corporate office where they have the notebook. It explores different aspects of the Death Note. It explores different aspects of morality from different stations in society, but it does lose steam a little bit. When it moves away from the cat and mouse game of Light and L, it does lose steam out of the balloon a little bit. It's not as tense and as clever and as suspenseful and fun as it is in that first half or first two-thirds. The last third does run out a little bit. It does come back though at the end. It is really a nice, quick comeback at the end. I know it's trending again because there's a Death Note short stories just came out. There's a new manga that just came out, short stories, and they've also made a bunch of live action Death Notes. There was a famous one on Netflix, and there was 2 Japanese ones, I think. It's still in the public zeitgeist. Death Note is still very, very popular. I enjoyed the goal of the protagonist, even though it seems like he's misguided. His goal does seem relatable to many, many people, and it's a goal that we've had as a society, not as evolved, but back in the day, as a mob or as a mass mentality. It always seems like a good idea to actually just take out the evil or take out criminals, and to lose sight of having a fair and balanced justice system that we go through, and not the mob mentality, which is very easy, but the justice system is very, very difficult. And L even comments on it, that the person he's chasing, Kira, has a very juvenile sense of justice. You can tell that he's young and not as evolved. He's going with more of the mass crowd and the mob rule mentality. This is also brought out later in the film. They throw money off a building. The idea of Kira and the idea that light has spread that to remove evil of the world is a good idea, has now entered the zeitgeist of the Japanese society, and mobs of people are now protesting, and they're rooting and cheering for Kira, very much like rooting for like a vigilante. But it's not the correct way that justice should be performed. It should go through a more sophisticated system, and people should debate it. It shouldn't be just one man is judge and jury. It shouldn't be like Judge Dredd or something like that, or just a reckless vigilante. So that aspect was done well. And later in the film, the mob, the crowd, is taking over, and they're rooting for Kira, and they're attacking a corporate building. And now they're trying to get Nier. Nier is in the building, and he's still trying to catch Kira. And the mob now is with Kira, and they throw money from a building, from the top of a building. And as the money scatters, you see how unsophisticated the mob and the masses really are. They start immediately losing focus on what they were there protesting and just running for money. And the mob and the masses are not a sophisticated, thought-through bunch. That idea of justice is more of a older society or older civilizations that were based on myths and based on the mob rule, which is not really so clever as a more laid-back, slower, sophisticated justice system where you bring someone, they have a trial, where, more routinely now, I think we've evolved. We're not a society or a culture based on myths, more based on religions. Like in the West, we're based on a Christian outlook, whereas the underdog or the person being crucified or the prisoner should have a fair hearing. We shouldn't just scapegoat large amounts of people. Hey, let's just kill everybody. The mob mentality is, hey, let's just kill everybody in prison. Let's just kill anyone accused of anything, and that will make the world a lot better. Now, in the long term, in a larger perspective, it might, because you're killing so many people. But if you're killing even one wrong person, or even one person who doesn't deserve that kind of swift sentencing, maybe someone deserved maybe a year in prison or 2 years in prison and you killed them, then we've gone into a judge and jury of an individual or the mob. And that's not where we have evolved to. With as we moved away from a myth-based culture, we've moved towards a more of religion culture, and we've stopped scapegoating as much. I like to believe that we've stopped scapegoating as much, and we've evolved into more of a L outlook, where we want to take the criminals and then give them a fair justice system, and then put them in prison, and then serve out their term and give them a limited amount of term. This seems to be also, too, it came out like in 2007, where the internet was really picking up steam, but now it's social media. This is very, very relevant, because with social media now, where everybody is going on and ganging up as a mob or a mass, ganging up on people, and actually the term canceling them or killing someone or removing them and thinking it's for the betterment of society, thinking you're doing the right thing, is a very light Yagami Kira outlook on the world, to remove just the prisoners, as opposed to a slower, more methodical approach to each person getting a fair trial and a fair justice system and a fair sentencing, not just canceling or killing everyone outright, but actually giving someone a year or 2 years or 4 years, something to the more lined up to their crime. And then once their time is done, it can be over, as opposed to once you kill somebody, it's permanent. I was going to say Crime and Punishment is also very similar to this, whereas somebody like Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment is very much like Light in Death Note, and Sonya is very much like Misa, like the happy hooker. Here she's like a pop star. She's like a Tokyo pop star. We have Petrovich, the St. Petersburg police, which is very much like L, tracking down Light. So very much of a cat and mouse game, and all the morality and the philosophies behind each of the perspective of the characters is very, very similar to Crime and Punishment. It's very Nietzschean, with the the master morality versus the slave morality, versus Light is going to be an overman. He's a superior person to the masses, and he could become a god of a new world, not have such a god complex, and be more humble of our opinions, and not such an overman, but one of many, one of kind. The other thing I was going to say that this story also reminded me of, this reminded me of many stories, but these two really stuck out, was The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. And in that, the idea was, once you become invisible, your morality changes. Like the idea that our morality is based on how other people perceive us is the way we react. And our actions take into account the social circle that we're part of. That's how we act. But if we were invisible and there were no repercussions for our actions, we would act a very different way. Very much like the master morality versus the slave morality. If you were a king and there was no repercussions for your actions, you might simply do whatever you wanted with no thought of how other people think of you, or if you might get in trouble, or if there might be repercussions for your actions. Because you're so powerful, nothing's going to happen to you. Whereas if you have a slave morality, it's not really you're a better person, but you have this outlook because you're afraid that the system is going to catch you, or you're afraid that your surroundings, somebody will hurt you because you're weak. So that the slave morality is coming from a place of fear. That's the way you say these things, or you say these things outwardly, that you have this morality, that you're a just person, that you're somewhat virtue signaling, simply because you're concerned with how other people look at you, or your appearance to your social group. So the Invisible Man, once he becomes invisible and there's no repercussions for his action, he starts to act in a different way. He himself also becomes a murderer. He has a God complex. If there's no repercussions, I would like to remove some people. That's another very interesting idea, where in this, Light is very much invisible because his murders have a supernatural element behind it where he can never get caught. He has the Death Note, where if you were going to murder, would you not murder somebody because you're afraid you're going to get caught? Or do you not murder somebody because you morally think it's the wrong thing to do? If you were never going to get caught and you had a master morality and you had no concern of your repercussions, would you murder somebody? These themes have been done before, and this is simply done with a Japanese high school student. So it's a nice transfer, or a nice homage to those older stories in maybe high literature done in anime and getting very, very popular with the young. Like Death Note is very, very popular. So it's really cool. I didn't like a lot of the, even though Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky, the themes and in The Invisible Man are very, very Christian. It's that idea that we've evolved beyond the myth-based culture and we moved on to a society based on the other, that we're willing to look at the scapegoat and not simply team up on somebody and blame someone. Everybody just scapegoat on someone as a release, as a catharsis for a tension that we have in society, that we actually look at the scapegoat as now the innocent victim, like the Christ on the cross. But I didn't like the way they had a lot of the Christian symbolism in Death Note. I seen a lot of the Christian stuff really didn't work. The one scene where L is cleansing the feet of Light, maybe like a Jesus and a Mary scene where she's cleaning his feet, it didn't seem to fit in. And Light is not a Jesus character. I don't think L perceives him that way either. He perceives him more of a juvenile individual, someone who has a juvenile idea of justice. He's not a superior person. He had a supernatural advantage over L, and L actually caught him. I mean, I think L was the more clever individual. He had no advantages and caught up to him. And also some of the Christian themes with the chanting and the glass. They had the stained glass ceilings. A lot of the Christian symbolism didn't seem to work. It was put in the opposite way that it should have been intended. It wasn't applied correctly, and it seemed like it was forced in there. Like, I know the scene where L is cleaning Light's feet is not in the manga. So the people afterwards who made the anime put that scene in, and that scene doesn't work. It stands out like a sore thumb, and it's completely out of character. It wasn't in the original manga. So that scene really seems to be shoehorned in. It doesn't fit so well. And some of the other Christian themes. The one scene where he was walking with the... he had the police, the FBI agent, the US FBI agent that was on Light's tail on the bus, was excellent. Where he actually manipulated that person to give him all the names, and then he killed all the FBI agents. But when the FBI agent's fiance came after him, and she was very clever, and she was right on the tail of Light, and they were walking, it was like a 9-minute scene. That scene is just excellent, where they're walking together, and they're playing a little cat and mouse game. But Light just seems to have an advantage over other people. He has the supernatural aspect of the Shinigami and the Notebook, and other people don't have the advantage that he has, so he just knows the missing pieces to the puzzle. But he thinks he's much more clever and smarter than the other people. And as she loses the cat and mouse game, and then we see her going up the stairs to a noose that she's lost. It was a great moment. It was pretty sad. It was like, wow, that was really a tense, really great. So there's some great moments in this thing. If you get a chance, definitely check this one out. It's worth seeing. It is Death Note from 2007, the anime TV series, and it's on, I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon Prime right now. So if you have any comments, let me know below if I've missed anything, or if you wanted me to dwell on something else that I happened to miss, let me know in the comments below.